Hey guys, and welcome back to my kitchen. But in case this is the first time you're stopping by, my name is Gina and I'm a wife and mother from the Midwest, and I enjoy cooking fresh meals for my family, and sometimes I film videos of my recipes and I post them here on YouTube. So today, it is seriously nasty outside. It is mid-March and it is still cold. It was snowing this morning. And furthermore, as most of you know, unless you're watching this far in the future, we have a pandemic going on. So there's kind of a self-imposed quarantine going on here in the United States. Everybody's doing social distancing. And a lot of us went to the store and shopped randomly, myself included. When it first started happening last week, I got really nervous. And they haven't imposed an official quarantine yet, so I just thought that we were all going to be stuck in our house, and I wanted to have a bunch of non-perishable items in the house in the event that we weren't able to go to the store. So this week, unlike other weeks, I usually have a menu planned out day by day, and today I don't. So this whole week I'm just going to be going through my cabinets and seeing what I have available to me and trying to use the first perishable items, which for me is mostly vegetables and fruits, and create meals out of them. So today we are going to be making an Instant Pot chuck roast, or an Instant Pot roast. That's too many pots in a row. I had all of the stuff on hand, including the meat. This is just ingredients that I would consider to be part of a well-stocked pantry, and it is going to come together probably in about an hour, hour and a half of cook time in the Instant Pot, and it should result in a delicious, hearty, belly-filling meal that you could freeze half of it if you needed to and eat later in the week, or feed your whole family. And hopefully you have most of this stuff on hand too. So let's jump into the ingredients. So the first thing that I have here is a chuck roast. This is a, let's see here, 2.43 pounds. So you need like a 2 to 3 pound chuck roast. And I got so lucky. This was on sale during Valentine's Day. I got it for $2.99 a pound. This whole thing was $7.27. So if you ever see deals like that, go ahead and purchase extra meat and throw it in the freezer. So that's why I happen to have this. You can use red potatoes or white potatoes or russet potatoes. So I happen to have russet ones. So I'm just going to be using 3 of these. You can use 1 white onion or 2 small yellow onions. I'm going to be using 4 whole carrots that we'll peel and chop, some fresh celery, and then we're going to need some beef stock. And in addition to the beef stock, you could totally sub out 1 cup of the beef stock that I'm going to be using for a cup of red wine if you have that. A dry red wine like a Cabernet or a Merlot would work really well, but I am not so lucky. I was not smart enough to stock up on wine when I went apocalypse shopping, so points for me on that. The next thing we're going to use is some mushrooms, because I happen to have these on hand in my fridge, and these are going to go off if I don't use them. And then the rest of the stuff is just to season things up. So we're going to use a little tomato paste. In the end, we're going to use some cornstarch for thickening. Worcestershire is kind of a staple in regards to stews and pot roasts. This adds a really good burst of umami flavor. So if you don't have it, it's not going to be life or death. You could probably throw some steak sauce in there, but this definitely is good. We're going to use 5 cloves, I think, probably, of garlic, and I just happen to have mine already peeled in this jar. You're going to need a little bit of avocado oil or whatever type of oils you like to use. I would recommend using a high heat oil because we're going to sear our meat. So olive oil burns kind of fast. I don't know. It's totally up to you, but I would recommend a high heat oil. And then just for seasonings, just simple stuff, salt and pepper, and then some rosemary and thyme. If you wanted to add, you could add some oregano, you could add some red pepper flake, but I'm just going really traditional with this. And if you have fresh herbs, you can feel free to do a little bouquet garni, which is you would take rosemary and thyme and tie it up with a string and remove that in the end. So try to use what you guys have. That's the whole purpose of these videos I'm going to be making this week, is just checking your pantry out, shopping within your own kitchen, and making a meal from what you have. So let me decide what I'm going to do next, and I will be back. Okay, so I've taken care of most of our prep. As you can see, I have broken our roast down into large chunks. So you could get away with cutting it in 3 or 4 chunks, but there was a huge chunk of gristle in the middle of it that I wanted to get rid of. So I just cut it into smaller pieces. There's 6 or 7 pieces here. So I would say that this is going to serve 4 people, and everybody would get 2 chunks of meat and a couple chunks of potato and so on and so forth. So I went ahead and I removed any excess fat. Then I chopped up our first batch of veggies. So this is actually going to go in with the meat after it's done searing. I quartered the portobello mushrooms, or the baby bella mushrooms. I thinly sliced 3 ribs of celery, and then I ended up adding another onion because after I peeled these, they were very, very small, but those small yellow onions, I just quartered them. And then we are going to have a second phase of cooking where we'll release the pressure and then we'll add our softer vegetables after the meat has cooked through. So the potatoes, each russet potato, I cut it into 6 chunks. So these are kind of large, but I don't want them to break up into little teeny tiny pieces or like kind of like get it all in the broth. So each potato into 6 pieces, and then I just cut large chunks of carrot. And as you can see, they're different shapes because these carrots were very thin at the tip end and very thick at the plant side of the root vegetable. So that's that. So right now I have my Instant Pot going on saute on high. And I actually have it on top of my cutting board on top of my stove. So that way you guys can see because I have a light up there. And the first thing I'm going to do is add a little bit of avocado oil to the bottom because we don't want our meat to stick. And then let's move this over here. Oh, and I forgot to mention, I have 5 cloves of garlic and I minced them. But when I say minced, this is an extremely rough mince. I literally smashed each clove and then ran my knife through it for a couple times because we're going to be cooking this for a long time and this is basically going to dissolve anyways. So before my hand is dirty from touching raw meat, I'm going to go ahead and spread these out. And I'm going to salt and pepper. I'll try to flip them with the knife so I can get in there one more time. We don't want to put tons of salt and pepper on this because we are going to season it later on. But definitely needs a little flavor. This is probably a little bit more than half of a teaspoon, I would say. Go ahead and rinse my fingers. Grab the pepper. The girls clearly are eating Jell-O, and I'm very excited about it. All right, now I'm just going to kind of roll these around and try to pick up what's left on the stepping and on the windows. My sister lives next door, so they are talking to their cousins through the window right now. My sister has a YouTube channel as well. Her name is Megan, and her channel is called Finn Family Fun, in case you guys are interested. Is to checking out some more of my family and seeing about the people and places and where I come from. All right, so there we go. So that meat is seasoned up. This is definitely feeling hot. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that it gets coated with a little bit of oil. I find these Instant Pots have a strange like bevel in the middle. So around the outside, the oil always ends up congregating, if you will. And we are just going to let this go until we have a nice deep sear on each side. So I'd say probably as you flip it, like 3 minutes, flip it. 3 minutes, flip it until all the sides are coated. And I will be back when we add the next step, which is our first step of vegetables. Okay guys, I need to move kind of fast. I just wanted to show you I've removed the meat and all of this black stuff on the bottom of the pan. That's called a fond, which is basically a layer of flavor that has developed in the bottom of the pan from the meat cooking. And I removed the meat because we need to get this going. So I'm going to dump this in because it is actually burning almost. And what I'm dumping in is... Sorry, I don't want to burn my hand, guys. Bear with me for 1 second because this is really smoking because it got really nice and hot. I will show you our meat in just a second. But I'm dumping in 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce, a teaspoon of rosemary, a teaspoon of thyme, 2 tablespoons of tomato paste, and a half of a teaspoon of black pepper. So we want to add this to the bottom of the pan to start waking up the tomato paste. Next thing I'm going to do is add in our garlic. So we want to cook the raw garlic flavor off. We're going to stir that around. I actually have turned the pot off. This is just residual heat. It was very, very hot for a second there because we'd been searing the meat. I'll get it back on in just a second here, but I'm just trying to scrape up those brown bits that are on the bottom of the pan and get them into the tomato sauce because that is going to give our sauce a lot of flavor. Okay. So this is pretty good for now. I'm going to go ahead and return my Instant Pot to saute again, and I'm actually, it doesn't need to be on pie. It can just be on normal. So here is our meat. As you can see, it has a nice sear on most pieces. Looks pretty good. Our Instant Pot is back on, so I'm going to dump in our first batch of veggies, which is our onions, celery, and mushrooms. I'm gonna give this a nice stir. Get everything coated. Sorry guys, my children are screaming out the window now at their cousins. And there's not much I can do about it, because if I stop them, they are going to do a cry fest. Okay. Great, now my phone is gonna die. What a day, guys. Alrighty, so I'm going to now add 3 cups of beef broth to this. So that is 2/3 of what is, or no, excuse me, 3/4 of what is in this container. If you guys don't know that there are 4 cups in a 32-ounce beef stock box, that's what they are. So I'm just kind of jiggling it to feel if there is. Yep, and that's good. I missed one. Get everything mixed up. Continue scraping up any of those brown bits that might still be stuck. And as you can see, we're developing already a nice rich brown sauce that we're gonna cook our meat in. And we're just getting ready right now to snuggle our beef back into this pool. So take your tongs and just jiggle the meat in there. Girls, can you be quiet for 1 minute, please? They give 0 fucks. 0. We've been pretty cooped up here. A, between the weather, and B, because of the whole coronavirus deal. So they are a little bit stir crazy. So anytime they see anybody out the window that's family, they feel like they've got to try to make contact with the outside world. All right, this is probably as covered as I'm going to be able to get the beef, because this is a lot of stuff for the Instant Pot. All right, I'm going to add, let's see here, this is a teaspoon. 1 teaspoon of salt to the top here now. I actually should have mixed that in, but my children are stressing me out, people. This is real life. Let me go ahead and grab the top to my Instant Pot. And, oh no, I lost my pressure valve. Come on. Whatever comes off, you just put it on and turn it. So we're gonna seal this, and then we're gonna hit cancel to turn off our saute mode, and then I'm going to go ahead and just use the pressure cook mode on more pressure, and I'm going to set this for 45 minutes. You know what, we're just gonna do 40, because I actually cut them pretty small, so 40 minutes. This is gonna take a while to come to pressure. Luckily, our meat has been warmed up from being cold, and our veggies got a little bit warmer too from the light saute that we did, so hopefully it doesn't take too long. Once I'm ready to release this pressure on this and add the remaining ingredients, I will be back. All right, guys, so I went ahead and I did a quick pressure release on this. I'll get you ketchup in 1 second. Maybe Daddy will get you ketchup. All right, as you can see, let me go ahead and put this, you know what? All right, guys, so my 40 minutes is up. I went ahead and did a quick pressure release on this, and then, I don't know if you saw before, I had this soaking in water, and that was because the potatoes tend to oxidize and turn brown if they sit out for a long time, so I drained that, obviously. I'm gonna go ahead and give this a nice little stir, and then we're gonna be adding another, I'm gonna add a 1/2 teaspoon of salt right now, because you can always put more in, but you can't take it out. So another 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and then probably give it another stir again really quick. And we want to work quickly right now because we want this to come to pressure fast again. So I'm going to go ahead and dump in our carrots and potatoes. Try to snuggle them in here. Get them covered with liquid. Don't worry, this is really thin, the liquid right now, but we're going to thicken that up with a cornstarch slurry when we're done. So now I'm just going to pop the top back on, and this is tricky. Ooh, but it worked. You got to do it quickly and then close it again. And then we're going to go cancel. We're going to go back to pressure cook, and then I'm going to set this for 15 minutes. And then this should come to pressure rather quickly because everything's really hot in there. And once it's done, we're going to let it do a natural pressure release for 15 minutes and thicken it up, and we'll be ready to go. Okie dokie, guys. I have done natural pressure release for, I did it for 13 minutes. I'm not going to lie. I'm really freaking hungry, and we need to get to Home Depot. And supposedly there's going to be an actual coronavirus freaking quarantine now from the beginning of when I started this. My husband came home and told me, so we need to go get the stuff to finish our bathroom. And as you can tell, I'm stressed out. And oh my God. Anyways, back to our video. So I did I quick released the rest of the pressure, and I just want to show you that these potatoes are nice and fork tender. I don't want to like break it up too much because that defeats the purpose. If you were using red potatoes, like I mentioned, you leave them whole. And you could put them in from the beginning because the skin will hold it together, but these are peeled, so they would not. I went ahead and I put a 1/4 cup of cornstarch and a 1/4 cup of the leftover beef broth in a glass here, and I'm just stirring it up, and this is called a slurry. You could use water if you wanted to too, it doesn't matter. And so we're going to go ahead and we're going to just, for the last time, we're going to turn this back onto saute, because cornstarch, the way it works is the liquid that you are trying to thicken needs to come to a boil again in order for the cornstarch to be completely done doing its job. So I'm going to go ahead and pour this in. And I'm going to start just kind of jiggling it. I don't really want to stir it up too hard because I'm not trying to crush my potatoes. As you can see, it's already thickening up. Oh yeah, boy. This is gonna be delicious. Should probably get down in here on this side. And I'm just kind of jiggling it. We made a slurry of it, so I mean there shouldn't be any chunks in there from the cornstarch, but you never know. So this is coming to a boil. I'm going to go ahead and take my finger and swipe along the spoon and taste our sauce for salt. I think it's pretty good, actually. So that was a total of 1.5 teaspoons of salt that I added to this, and then I added about 1/2 teaspoon onto the the beef stew meat. What am I saying? Chuck roast, onto the chuck roast, and we're good to go. Try to see some of our, our mushrooms have cooked way down. Our chunks of beef look nice and tender. We'll have the test when we plate everything up, but I think we're going to be good to go. All right, guys, I don't want to mix this too much more. I'm going to go ahead and hit cancel on this so this stops boiling and unplug it. One thing I love about Instant Pot dinners is, I mean, this is for my husband's lunch, but I actually ended up cleaning up all of the dishes, and taking a shower while it cooked, and now we don't have a mess. So let me go ahead and get everything plated up, and I'll be back to show you what it looks like. All right, friends, so this is it plated up. It looks a little bit soupy because I was trying to really get some mushrooms in mine because I really like mushrooms. The one thing I will say is if you like celery in your food, which if you watch my channel, you know that I like celery as a flavoring object. I don't like to have chunks of it. If you do like chunks of celery, put it in the second half when you put in your carrots and your potatoes, because then they will still be visible. But I like how it melted down. I just wanted you to see like how tender the meat is. It just falls right apart. Everything looks good, and let's see what Mr. Daniel thinks about it.
Pretty good. I like it.
Really hot. It's really hot. All right, guys, so it's really good, but it's really, really hot. All right, guys, I hope you liked this first video in my series that I'm making this week, Cooking with Corona. I don't know what I'm going to make tomorrow, but I will make a video of whatever I find shopping in my pantry. Maybe I'll do lasagna or something. I tried to keep the ingredients simple and include things that I would assume that everybody had in their home. If you liked this video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. And if you loved it, please consider subscribing because I'm totally appreciative of all of my subscribers. And I just get a kick out of seeing my channel grow. So thanks so much for stopping by and have a good night.